Hello guys, my name is Kazeem and in this tutorial we'll be talking about basically how websites load. And over this tutorial I just want to give us a brief on how website loads, and from there we'll move on to other parts of how to build a website by ourselves. So first of all, let's give a simple scenario. Let's assume this is my mobile phone or my computer, whatever it is that we use personally, and we want to connect to the internet. Let's assume we want to go to W3 Schools website, which is up here. So if I type w3schools.com in my browser, before this page loads, some things happen. So I want to just quickly explain what happens before the page loads. So the first thing that happens is our computer or our mobile phone tries to connect to the internet, or tries to connect to the internet. That's just the simplest explanation. But to do that, it has to have a network, or a mobile network, or a Wi-Fi. And in this case I'm using a router here. So if it's your mobile phone, it needs a SIM card to connect to the internet. So after it does that, then it needs to ping back to the ISP, which is the internet service provider, because it still has to go back to the server or the satellites that would locate the server online for you. So once it gets to the ISP provider, the ISP provider searches for the server with the name or IP address you just searched for. So it finds W3 Schools and it returns back a web page or the website to your computer. So it's still the same channel. So you have from your computer down to the router, from the router to the ISP, from the ISP to the server, and back, and back. So that's just the basic explanation of how this website loads. So for every time I try to load the website, the way it comes about to be, that's just the simplest way I can give it to you. So now another thing we need to understand is basically what is a website. So if you go online and you search for what is a website, you find collection of web pages, which is very correct, yes. But there are some things that concerns a website that we still need to talk about. For example, how what does this mean? How is this created? And all this. So before we do that, let me just quickly show you a diagram which I created. Now, for every website, majorly for every functioning website, or in some cases we still have something called web applications, which we'll be talking about in the future. We have what we call front end, which is sometimes known as client side, and back end, which is known as server side. So you might be wondering, what is the front end and what is the back end of the website? So if we come back to this website where we have over here, we would see that we have on our W3 Schools website, sorry about this, we have a page here, and this page that we are seeing, it's called our client side or the front end of our website. So for every content we see here, all this text written up here, these um link tags and the likes, we can find all this under our website. That's the front end part of our website. So there's a back end to this website which we can see in, because in most cases it deals with the code, the database, and other functionalities of the website. So for example, let's assume, okay, I have solo learn up here, and for my solo learn website, let's assume I want to log in. Assuming I was not logged in before this page, if I wanted to log in or sign out in some cases, I would just click on I'll just click on sign out. And if I click on sign out, you just notice that yes, everything signs out. But how does this happen? So that deals with the back end, which controls the logic of signing out, because signing in and signing out is done by a token. So signing out, you delete the token from storage. There are some other things about that, but where I'm really going to, it's the languages used to create these two sides of a website. So first of all, there are three major languages used to create the front end part of the website, and the first one we have is HTML, which we'll be talking about in upcoming tutorials. And HTML stands for hypertext markup language. and it's used to build the structural part of a website. So for example, which I want to just show you now in this HTML tutorial, everything blah blah blah, and let me show you an example of what HTML looks like. So we have a very good example here. So this is the structural part of a website. So we have the title, we have the paragraph, and we have the heading. So if we click on try it ourselves, it should take us to this page. So we can see this is just a structure. It doesn't look like anything presentable that we can put out there. So how do we make this presentable? How do we make this presentable? We go over to the next language that we use, which is CSS, so Cascade Styling Sheet. So if we come back to our W3 schools, which I'll be using a lot throughout this tutorial, let's say we have an example of this body. No, so now let's try this ourselves and let's see what happens. Now this is the CSS of this code and this is the HTML. So this looks something like what we wrote earlier. We just had a paragraph and a heading tag. So the same thing here, but it looks more presentable because the CSS controls the presentation of our website. You understand? So that's a very basic functionality of what these two languages come about to be to create websites. So if you look over to the last part, which is JavaScript, if so, we click on our JavaScript here, and you want this to display date and time. So on click of this button, you want something to show. So first of all, if you notice, we still have our HTML here, but we have our JavaScript written here on click. So it's an event driven language also. So on click of this, you want the date and time of the specific date, which is very correct because today is Saturday over here, April 25th, and I'm in West Africa, so it has to be GMT +1. So the JavaScript does this, and this is the behavioral part of our website. So we go over this again. We have HTML for our structure, CSS for the presentation, and JavaScript for the behavioral part. Now let's go over to the back end or the server side. Now you can go online and say you might search for languages for back end and you will find a lot of languages, and yes, there are so many languages that you can use for our back end. In fact, most of the major programming languages out there you can be used to easily create the back end of our website. So let's just do something easy. So this is W3 schools, and we have this. I love this because now we can see that we have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and now under the server side we have some languages that that is being taught on this website. So the first language you find here is PHP. We have SQL or SQL as anybody calls it. We have ASP, we have Razor, and we have ASP.NET. So back here I listed SQL, C#, SQL, PHP, Python, and I still listed JavaScript, and I'll come back to that. Now let's first talk about why we have many languages to do this. Now the back end of a website is a very logical part. So you want to handle when people log in, when people log out. Let's assume it's an e-commerce site, when people are adding products to your website, when people are removing products, when they are buying, when they are selling. You understand? So to do all this, you can't do this with just HTML and CSS. It has to have some logic running at the background to perform all these tasks. So to do that, you need a very good language to do that. So there are so many languages out there, but in the coming tutorials we'll be talking a bit about C# and the framework which it runs on, that's ASP.NET. So first of all, you have to understand that all these languages, there are specialties for each language, but almost every language can be used to work on the back end. Now JavaScript can also be used for the front end and back end due to a framework called Node.js, and it handles the back end of the website, and it uses a database management system like MongoDB and MySQL and the likes. And we have C# which runs on the ASP.NET, and it uses MS SQL, that's Microsoft SQL Server as the database. We have PHP, which uses Apache and the likes. Python also has other database system it uses for managing its database part. So I think I've been able to explain a bit of the basics of a website. So in the coming tutorials, we'll still be talking better on how well this works and how we can fuse all this together. So I think if you have any question, you can drop it in the description below, in the comments below, and I would love to hear your thoughts and how to better improve this tutorial series will be going on. And thank you very much. Have a nice day.